experience. How can they be like a 5-year-old? What we mean is that in some domain, right? Fine motor, gross motor, receptive language, expressive language, social, emotional behavior. We've tested somebody at the wazoo, and in 1 or 2 areas we find this discrepancy. So in my son's case, at his kindergarten IEP meeting when he was there, the classroom, the therapist, the PT that was there, started reading about Benjamin's, therapy stuff, his gross motor, and Benjamin, I told you, has this great auditory memory. He loved Thomas the Tank Engine. He was nowhere close to reading, but he'd memorized all the stories, and we would read the books. And I told you Benjamin didn't talk till he was 3.5. But one thing he inherited from my husband is ability to mimic. And Benjamin, my husband's a great mimic, and Benjamin's an even better mimic than my husband. And so Benjamin was reading the Thomas the Tank Engine stories. Like they wasn't anywhere close to reading, but you would think he was, because he knew exactly where to turn the page, and he could do a British accent. Okay, I mean, he literally at age 3 could do a British accent. So at the kindergarten IP meeting, sometimes we were all together, and other times he and Emily were sitting over there, and then we're sitting over here. And his kindergarten teacher, even though it's an inclusive school, she's worried about having him in her classroom. I don't know about that kid. But here's Benjamin over there, and he looks like he's reading a book, and reading out loud. And I didn't tell her he wasn't reading. I thought she'll figure it out the first day of school. But damn, he's looking good right now. Look at him. He is looking good. So the PT starts to read her report, right? She says, Benjamin Snow, 5 years, functions at the level of an 8-month-old, blah, blah, blah. Functions at the level of an 8-month-old. The kindergarten teacher is looking at this kid over here reading a book, and then listening to what the PT say. And I said, stop. I said, she means on a gross motor scale, okay? On a gross motor scale, you're supposed to start sitting up and crawling and rolling over when you're 8 months old. Benjamin never did those things. He is never going to do them, okay? But we're going to hold him at that stage on a gross motor scale. But see, the therapist didn't even say gross motor scale. So when parents tell me, well, my kid is 20 but like a 5-year-old, I say, in what domain? Because it can't be the whole person, okay? But that's what we do. We test it in a domain, and then we generalize it to the whole person, okay? And that's just patently unfair, okay? I mean, there are some times whenever I act like I'm 6, and other time I act like I'm 90. And that's okay, because I don't have a disability. But if you have a disability and you're not, if you're 20 and you're not 20 all the time in every way. So there are things that my son is never going to do. And on his tombstone, they can put, lived to be 100 and had 3 PhDs and funked the level of an 8-month-old on a gross motor scale. No, that's not who he is, okay? So again, you might need it for eligibility, but we cannot talk about people like this. And we certainly cannot hear people with disabilities hear us describe them that way. Never ever compare a person with disability to others, but only to themselves. So we do this all the time. We look at a person with disability. Well, he's not doing that like his brother did, or he's not doing that the way other 20-year-olds do. And again, my son is never going to do the same stuff that a lot of people do. Okay, but neither am I. Okay, neither is my husband and stuff. But we compare people with disabilities. I mean, that's what we do on all those tests. We're comparing them against the norm, and of course, then they never measure up. Okay. Theodore Roosevelt said one time, comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. So we compare people. We rob them of their own joy in their accomplishments. And then when other people compare, if somebody's talking to the parents and say, well, your child is not doing this, or not doing this, or not doing this, then that robs us. So Benjamin, all those times, some of you go back and remember, again, I mean, my son's 30, the days of him getting early intervention services are just as fresh in my mind as if it was yesterday. And I remember they would come and test him and assess him, and he couldn't do this, and he couldn't do this, and he couldn't do this, and he couldn't. And I'd say, but look, listen to his little accent. He's got this little British accent. That didn't count, because it's not on the scale, right? So all the good stuff that Benjamin was doing, it was never of any value to people in the system, because that is not measurable on the scale, okay? And so we have to stop thinking about how we compare people to these norms, and then they never measure up, and then they're made to feel like they're not okay, or we made to feel like they're not okay, instead of looking at all the things that they can do. So we need to start assuming the best about people. For too long, we've assumed the worst about people with disabilities. It's time that we assume the best about them, just like hopefully, we assume the best about people that don't have disabilities. That if we think about that labels are the passports to services, then the passport to inclusion. And hopefully that's what we want for everybody that has a disability. We want to be included. A person's abilities and their talents and their interests and their strengths and their similarities. All of us in this room that do not have disabilities, this is what makes us successful. This is what we focus on. Nobody focuses on what I'm not good at, what I can't do, what all my problems are. The same thing as my husband. I mean, if I stood up here and I said, well, let me tell you about my husband. He's really not good at this, and he can't do that. And he can't. Some of you say, well, why'd you marry the bum, right? So if I want you to be impressed with my husband, then I'm going to tell you all the wonderful things about him. And the other stuff is not really your business, okay? It's not really your concern. So again, it's how we present ourselves, but always this is hopefully the way we present ourselves, but how we present people with disabilities. It's focusing on these things. What are they good at? What are their talents? What are their interests? One of the ways that we make inclusion successful in our communities is for people with disabilities to be with others based on shared interests. So when Benjamin took drama lessons whenever he was 11, and he'd gotten his paraplegia when he was 9, and a totally life-changing thing. And he came to me one day, and I told you guys earlier, he said he wanted to be a doctor. He said, well, then he wanted to do all these other things. So he's 11, he says, Mom, he says, I want to be an actor when I grow up. Well, now he's 11, so I'm going to talk to him a little differently than I did when he was 3. So I said, well, you know anything about being an actor, Benjamin? He says, no, you just go be an actor, you know. And I said, no, I think you have to know something about how to be an actor. I said, do you want to take drama lessons, you know, if we can find some, you know, children's theater. And so again, we live in this little town called Woodland Park, and Colorado Springs is like 45 minutes, an hour away. So we found at the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Museum, they had children's theater, you know, classes. And they put on a play. So he enrolled Benjamin in children's theater. He was the only kid with a disability, okay? In that children's theater class, here's a kid with a disability, my son. There were fat kids, skinny kids, tall kids, short kids, good-looking kids, ugly kids. There were, you know, all kinds of kids. None of those things mattered. What they all had in common, their similarities are what mattered. That they were all hams, okay? They all loved the sound of their own voices. They all wanted to be actors, okay? And so when we get people connected with other people based on the similarities, then the disability becomes really unimportant, okay? I mean, none of those other kids asked Benjamin, you know, what's your diagnosis or what happened to you? I mean, if, you know, he'd bring it up if they wanted to know. But it's usually the adults that cause the problems, not their peers, okay? You know what I mean? And so the same is true for all these things. What are Benjamin's strengths? What are the person with disability in your life? What are their strengths? What are their similarities? We focus for too long on what the differences are between people with and without disabilities, instead of focusing on the similarities. Yeah, when Benjamin was 6, he was more like other 6-year-olds than he was different. Yeah, there were a lot of things he did differently than other 6-year-olds, stuff he couldn't do. When he was 15, he was more like 15-year-old. Now that he's 30, he's more like other 30-year-olds. So Benjamin was 8, he was 8. He came home from school one day, and he says, Mom, he says, I need to know how to give the finger. Well, I wasn't about to tell him no, because that's what the 8-year-old boys were doing on the playground. They were learning to give each other the finger, okay? So Benjamin has CP. His fingers have a mind of their own, okay? If they didn't, he could write with a pencil, but his fingers are going to do what they want. So I said, how do you do it? I said, okay, Benjamin, like this, okay? Well, Ben, you know, right? Now, don't anybody write me up for this, okay? So I said, okay, so I showed him how to do it. Well, Benjamin can't make his fingers do that. So he's sitting in his wheelchair, so I said, okay, Benjamin. So I took his fingers, and I'm putting them all down, and I said, now take your thumb, and hold these fingers down. And so I like that. As soon as I put my hand away, his fingers, you know, just whatever, they'd open up. So no, Benjamin, let's try it again. Okay, 30 minutes we're doing this, okay? Benjamin, a lot of people that have, like, he has spastic type of cerebral palsy, which means your muscles are always tight, which is like you're running a marathon all the time. And so a lot of people with cerebral palsy like that, they just sweat profusely because it's like your muscles are in constant tension. And so his hand is just sweating. Like, wipe your hand off, Benjamin. Okay, it's getting sweaty all over me. So finally, about 30 minutes of this, he's like, Mom, come on. And I said, what do you mean, come on? I said, it's your hand. I said, I can't make your hand do that. And I said, show me what you can do on your own. So and then you can just see the muscles turning in his head, working, and so he gets it about like that. And I said, Benjamin, that looks pretty good to me. Really, Mom, are you sure? I said, yeah, that's good. Okay, thanks, Mom. The great thing was, Benjamin could give you a finger in public, and you didn't know you were getting a finger, but we did, okay? And so, Benjamin wanted to be, and see, we gotta give kids and adults with disabilities the opportunities to do those ordinary but precious things about relationships and experiences that, again, everybody takes for granted. So when I'm talking with younger parents about parenting younger kids, at first sometimes they're horrified. And it's like, why wouldn't you want your kid to do what other kids are doing, okay? I'll never forget when he was in 3rd grade, the first time he got in trouble at school. Teacher's aide came out ahead of time and she says, Kathy, Benjamin got in trouble at school at lunch today, and they made him stay in recess. And she says, I don't think that's right. That's not right. And I said, well, why ain't it right? I said, if he acted up, he ought to get punished like the other kids. I was so excited that Benjamin did something to get in trouble at school. Because I mean, he couldn't do those things. And so I was delighted. It was like, go Benjamin. Now, to his face, I said, Benjamin, you need to mind your teacher. But that night, Mark and I laid in bed, it's like, yes. He's being a little eight-year-old boy. 8-year-old boys are little, you know what, right? And so the same thing is true for adults. I met a man one time who he got a job in the system. And his son was, I think about 35, lived in a group home. And he said, he came up in a presentation and he said it in the whole group. I mean, it wasn't a private conversation, but I was talking about the whole developmental age, chronological age thing. And he had a bone to pick with me about that. And I said, okay, what? He said, well, he said, my son comes home from group home, like once a month. He comes and spends the weekend with us. And he says, and my son is at I don't know, 6, he said, he's 30, but he functions level of a 6-year-old, something like that. And he says, and so when he's home, all he wants to do is watch Barbie videos. And he said, so why shouldn't we let him do that? That's what he wants to do, is watch Barbie videos. Okay, and I was like, well, for one thing, he's a guy. I don't know too many boys that want to watch Barbie videos. Okay, but what does Barbie represent? What does Barbie represent? What? Sexy. Sexy. I mean, Barbie's sexy. Okay? And so I'm thinking a 30-year-old guy wants to watch Barbie videos. Okay? Well, 30-year-old guy probably ought to be interested in sex. I mean, people with disabilities are sexual. They're not asexual. They should have every opportunity to experience things that everybody else does. And so I said, well, I would feel better if your son was watching the Playboy channel. I mean, that is more, I mean, isn't Playboy channel more age appropriate for a 30-year-old male than watching Barbie videos? Okay. Well, he was horrified. Okay? Now, what we know is that the kid has been doing this from the time he was little, so the young man has not progressed because his parents didn't expect him to grow and progress and say at some point, okay, no more Barbie videos now, whatever. I mean, like, let's move on from there. But you see, how do we expect this young man to ever be like a 30-year-old if his parents allow him to behave like a 6-year-old? But that's the way they saw it, okay? Now, I'm going to just say this real quickly, and just as an aside, we're almost wrapped up. I got about 3 more slides. I'm going to show you my video, and then we got time for some Q&A. You all know that it's estimated that people with disabilities experience sexual and physical abuse. They used to say it's 3 times the rate of people without disabilities. And now Joe Shapiro just did, I don't know if you guys all heard it, Joe Shapiro, who wrote the No Pity book, he did a series about 2 months ago. It was on NPR, you can probably still find it, about sexual abuse of people with developmental disabilities, okay? And so you think about how vulnerable people are. Mostly because we treat them as asexual, and we don't teach them. If you think back to when people are children, we don't teach them what good touches and bad touches are, like we do kids who don't have disabilities. I mean, we might try, but here's the thing. I'm going to come to you, poor thing. So, you're a little kid, and these are stories that people with disabilities have told me. You're a little kid, and you're in therapy, and this is very intimate. I mean, see, this doesn't feel good to you, does it? Okay. But you're a little kid, and I'm a great big, grown woman, and I'm doing all this kind of stuff to you, okay? And you might push me away, or start crying. In my son's case, when therapy didn't feel good to him, he would, because he doesn't have a lot of control over his body, so he couldn't even push really. He would be like a turtle. I mean, he would just like this, and that's what I call him. I mean, I didn't call him a turtle, but he would just go into a shell. But the therapist didn't see that I'd say, listen, he's telling you. Benjamin is telling you. Whereas the other kids, maybe you're pushing you or whatever. And I said, but that's how Benjamin's telling you. I said, so listen to him, because what you're doing is not comfortable for him. And so some kids will do, say no, or push you, or maybe they even bite you, or whatever. And they're saying no. They're saying, I'm not comfortable with what you're doing, stop it, or whatever. But so, and especially kids that don't have oral communication yet. The only way they can communicate, right, is by that kind of stuff. And so what adults have told me is that what they learned from the time they were very young, with you're telling me no, and you're her mother, okay, and I'm the therapist, and you don't intervene, okay? You don't say to the therapist, you need to stop, okay? So you just sit there like a bump on a log, and you're looking to her to save you, and she's not saving you, and I'm doing this kind of stuff to you. What people with disabilities told me was, from the time they were little bitty, and not just therapists, it could be teachers, it could be a lot of people. I mean, think about it in public schools. So we have an autism classroom where they're doing a lot of manhandling. I mean, when I hear about teachers talking about learning the 4-point takedown to control children that have disabilities that are exhibiting behaviors, whatever. And so what adults with disabilities have told me for years, that what they learn from that kind of stuff, or again from teachers, is that their no's mean nothing. That saying no to somebody means nothing. So it doesn't matter whether they tell somebody no. So we don't want them coming and saying, this is a bad, me as the therapist, this is a bad touch. It is a bad touch for them. It might not look like it to us, but it is to them. So if you're accustomed to people doing stuff to you, then you're living in a group home and a staff person comes in and is going to do stuff to you. Well, people have been doing that to you all your life. Okay? And so this is why we have to make sure that people with disabilities know what is right and what's wrong, and that we as their family members back them up. And furthermore, that we give them the tool to protect themselves. So Benjamin got his power chair when he was little, and he was in a manual chair that he couldn't do very much. The kids in the grocery store, they didn't want him to stay with me. Ben was 6, Emily was 8. They wanted to go look at the grocery store, they have one little cheap rack of cheap toys, and they want to go look at the toys. So I said, okay, but Emily, you stay with your brother. So I'm in the vegetable section, and Emily comes over and goes, Mom, come here. I said, Emily, what are you doing? You're supposed to stay with your brother. Where's Benjamin? She said, come here. And so we run down, we look down an aisle, and there's Benjamin sitting in his manual chair, and some perfect stranger. It was a lady, but it could have been a man. And Emily said, Mom, do we know that person? And I walked up, and I said, hello? Oh, I was just saying a prayer over your son. Right, you guys have had that happen, right? Just saying a prayer over him, going to put some holy water in it. Yeah, we're gonna fix him. And so I told Benjamin that day, she walked away as soon as I came. So I told Benjamin that day, I said, Benjamin, somebody comes up to you and you don't know them. I said, you put your hands out and say, I don't know you, okay? It's like pregnant women, right? We think, well, you just have the right to come up and touch your belly. That's what they think about people with disabilities. Having a disability, they would have never done that to my daughter. But they'll do that to people with disabilities, okay? And so I said, Benjamin, you put your hands out, okay? And he said, okay. So then he got his power chair. So I said, Benjamin, somebody comes up and does something to you, I said, you just mow them down. Okay? Just put that joystick there. And so we think about communication, that the person with disability needs to be able to tell us, to tell us what's happening to them, that somebody's doing something. Well, if they don't have, we're going to talk in the Living Our Lives breakout about giving people tools, but if they don't have an effective communication device to be able to say, this person did X to me today, then they're even more vulnerable, okay? So we've got to give people with disabilities the tools that they need to be strong, for self-protection, to be able to know that what they want with their bodies is the right thing, not what other people want. But that takes us, we have to cede the power to them. So if we protect them all the time, then they never learn to protect themselves. Does that make sense? Okay. So I like this quote from John le Carré. He says, like you, I had no conscious faith, but if I acted, then faith would surely follow. After that, I would believe because I had acted. Perhaps that is how faith is born, by action and not by contemplation. It was worth a try. I think a lot of times we spend a lot of time thinking about what we want to do, thinking about how our communities have become more inclusive, thinking about how we can do it. Sometimes we just need to go do it, okay? And a lot of people think, oh, the community's not ready for people with disabilities to be included. Yeah, our communities are ready, and people with disabilities are ready, okay? So that all the times that Benjamin was involved in stuff, when he was in the drama classes, they learned, oh, this is how you include Benjamin. And they realized that if they can include Benjamin, they can include the next child or adult with a disability. And whenever he was in community college, and Benjamin didn't write with a pencil. And so he would take his audio recorder. I mean, at the time didn't have cell phones at that time. I mean, later he got one, but take his audio recorder. But sometimes he did need stuff written down as a reminder. And so we got him the NCR paper, okay, that has the carbonless paper. We put it in his backpack, and Benjamin learned, one thing we've been talking about in the breakout is helping people learn how to help themselves. And so Benjamin learned to go ask for help from whoever he needed it from. And so he would go up to one of his classmates, and he'd say, you know, I don't write with a pencil. You're going to take notes. Would you get some paper out of my backpack, and can you take notes on that? And give him the paper. And so Benjamin would come home, and he'd be studying on his easel, and there were notes. I mean, they'd have to write legibly so he could read it, of course. And so I said, Benjamin, who took the notes for you today? I don't know, just a guy sitting next to me, okay? And so, you know, having that ability to get the help from whoever. And so we have to believe in the goodness and the kindness of strangers. Because we've never, ever worried about Benjamin being out. Especially now he's got the power chair. But anyway, but before that, the kindness of strangers. Because oftentimes we think people with disabilities are not ready. Oh, we've got to be around them all the time. No, they want to be away from us. And any of you want to be with your mother all the time? And when we moved back to Texas, I can be with my mother all the time. And she's 91 years old, and I'm with her, taking her to the doctor all the time now. So, and I'm sure she's thinking, Kathy, stop nagging me, because now I'm nagging her, right, the other way around. So sometimes we just have to believe and just do it. I like this quote from Kate Cerriti. She says, kill the snake of doubt in your soul. Crush the worms of fear in your heart, and mountains will move out of your way. And so all of us in this room who care about people with disabilities, again, we have got to be the ones out there pushing the envelope and saying our children, you know, whether they're adults or children, but I mean our adult children, that they've got to take their rightful place in society. The way our society will change is whenever people with disabilities are out there. Again, back to the example I shared early on about how we don't see in these marches for whatever. We see other groups, kids marching against guns who've got allies, or other people marching for this or against this, but they have allies. And we still don't have people with disabilities with a lot of allies because people, they're not known in their communities. They're not working, or they're not involved in park and rec activities, whether their buddies in park and rec and say, hey, I'm going to support you. You know, no, they shouldn't be cutting Medicaid. I'm going to go to Washington, or I'm going to go to the Capitol with you, or I'm going to have a little rally in downtown, whatever. That's where we've got to get to. That people with disabilities are taking their part in their mainstream of our society, in political opportunities, social opportunities, economic opportunities. So Benjamin got involved in politics years ago. He loves it. He was the youngest person doing some stuff in Colorado. He was the only kid with a disability when he just turned 18. And people in the political thing had never seen a person using a wheelchair go to some kind of political convention. It's like, where are people with disabilities in politics? I mean, are they voting? You know, are we expecting them to cast a vote and take their rightful place in society? So our job is to believe in big dreams and have high hopes and great expectations. And we just have to take that leap of faith and make sure that we're going to make it happen for people, because they're counting on us. You know that they're counting on us. And actually this is I made this into a poster, and I have a couple of articles that go with it, but this is just a mantra for all of us. If we don't have big dreams for people with disabilities, how do they know how to dream for themselves? So we have to support this. So I'm going to stop talking and show you my video.